McCain presidency as a third Bush term, you reject that charge as well. How different are you from President Bush? Are you in step with your party? Are you independent from your party? I guess there's a contradiction in those two. When people try to pigeonhole you one way during the primaries and another way during the general election.
Well, I believe that I am a person who is. I believe my record shows that I have put my country first, and I have the philosophy and follow the philosophy and traditions of Abraham Lincoln and Theodore Roosevelt and Ronald Reagan. Sometimes that has not been in keeping with the present administration or my colleagues, but I've always put my country first, whether it's saying that I didn't support the decision to go to Lebanon or my fighting against the corruption in Washington of out-of-control work barrel spending, which has led to members of Congress residing in federal prison. So I've always stood up for a set of principles and philosophy that I think have been pretty consistent over the years. Putting my country first, believing that the role of government is best defined by those principles of the three presidents that I just alluded to.
On a current topic, Secretary Rice, Bush administration, our NATO allies have declined to speed up the process of giving membership to Georgia. Is that a good idea? Is that a sign of fear about alienating Russia?
I don't know what it's a sign of. I would, in the case of both Ukraine and Georgia, press for their early movement on a schedule towards membership in NATO. But I don't know what their motives or what the reason behind the recent announcement that Secretary Rice made.
But you think it's better to move quickly and worry less about antagonizing Moscow, Kremlin?
Well, I think you've got a small country under basically occupation where murder and looting is taking place. I think that the other countries in the region obviously are concerned with the presence of the five presidents of Baltic countries and Poland and Lithuania and Tbilisi, and I believe that we should move forward with a number of actions concerning WTO membership in G7 or G8 for the Russians and membership of Ukraine and Georgia in NATO, among other things.
Your tougher line on Russia, which predated this action, now to many looks prescient. Others say it's indicative of a sort of tough and even belligerent approach to foreign policy that would perhaps further exacerbate, the tensions that have been created with our allies and others around the world under the Bush administration. How do you respond to that critique?
Well, it reminds me of some of the arguments that we went through when Ronald Reagan became President of the United States. I think Russian behavior has been very clear, and I pointed it out for quite a period of time. The chronicle of their actions has been well known since President Putin came to power, and I believe it's very important that Russia behaved in a manner befitting
how would you describe your foreign policy, or where do you sit on the spectrum of foreign policy views? Like, you have neoconservative advisors you have realpolitik advisors. What is John McCain?
Well, I think that people can make their judgments by my positions and involvement in every major national security issue for the last 20 years or more, and how I have played a role which Senator Obama never has in those key decisions, whether it be first Gulf War or Bosnia or Kosovo or other issues. But I believe that my judgments are based on years of experience and knowledge and background. And I believe that I'll stand by those judgments that I've made at times when these national security issues have arisen throughout the last nearly quarter of a century.
Speaking of judgment, Senator Obama makes a lot about the judgment he exercised by opposing the war before it started. Recently, I think the New York Times chronicled some of the statements he made in the run-up to the early part of the war, very enthusiastic support for taking out Saddam Hussein. Is that, and enthusiastic support for Ahmed Chalabi and other things, are those judgments you would like to revisit?